Hi everybody, I'm Andrea. Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been like a while, but I've been busy writing and reading and crying and binge watching TV shows that aren't very good. My friend Adriana over at Borico Reads made a Bad Bunny book tag and his album just came out and she tagged me in the book tag, so I thought I'd do a booktube version of that, and I hope you'll enjoy it. Question number 1, Ni bien ni mal, a book with a relationship breakup. So the book I went with is The Stars and the Darkness Between Them, because I feel like this book starts, well, with a true protagonist of course, but they both experience relationship breakups that kind of form and serve as a catalyst for the entire story to progress. Also, check out my bong shirt. For the entire story to progress. These two breakups are pivotal for the story to continue forward. So this is about two 16-year-old girls. One is named Audrey, who's from Trinidad, and she's forced to break up with her secret girlfriend because she comes from a very conservative, homophobic, religious family, and they send her to live with her father, who lives in middle America, and she's reacquainted with Mabel, who is dealing with the fallout of breaking up with her ex called Terrell, and she is really at a crossroads in terms of her own sexuality. She's dealing with these weird feelings that she has for her friend, and the two kind of are reacquainted with another, and they develop this really beautiful love story. One thing that I didn't know about this book before going in, and this is kind of a spoiler, so if you are really anti-spoilers and don't want to know, then I guess skip forward to here. This book deals with terminal illness, terminal cancer, and that's not something I had seen mentioned anywhere about this book, and maybe because it is such a big plot point that comes in and changes the entire course of the book, but it kind of took me by surprise. I didn't expect it, so it is definitely this very bittersweet love story, I guess you could say. It is very lyrical, very celestial. The author kind of incorporates a lot of astrology and zodiac elements into her narrative, and it's written using AAVE, and it's very modern, very of the times, I guess you could say. So yeah, that's the one I would choose. Number 2, 200 millas por hora, a book with a sea/ocean as a setting, and she used Don't Date Rosa Santos as an example, which is what I would have used, to be honest. So I went with Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. This is one of my very favorite books, actually. I read it a couple of years ago. It's weird, I'm not joking, it's a weird book. It's kind of an ecological horror book, I would describe it as. But it's very specific, I would say that, and it's not everybody will enjoy it. It's weird. Okay, so this is about an area called Area X and in the Southern Reach, and this Southern Reach area is supposed to be St. Mark's National Refuge in northwestern Florida, next to the Gulf of Mexico region, and there is this mysterious transformation, I guess you can call it, that is happening there, and expeditions have been made to go into it and explore what is happening, but people either disappear, they go crazy, or they develop deadly, life-threatening and life-destroying illnesses. So nobody leaves that place unchanged, if they leave, I guess you could say. And this is kind of about a biologist who is in the 13th expedition, I believe, and they're all women on there, and it's just a story about grief and depression and transformation, I guess you could say. And one of the biggest scenes, or one of the most pivotal scenes in this book, takes place in a lighthouse, which is why I thought it would fit perfectly with this kind of prompt. And I mean, basically it's about an alien fungi that's transforming things, and there's clones involved. 3, Quien tú eres, a book with an intense confrontation scene. There's so many great books. So many of my favorite books have that iconic scene that you instantly think of when you think of the book, right? But I'm going with the book I haven't talked about before, and that's just because I'm currently reading it right now, and I really enjoy basically any fight scene in this book, and that's The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. And if you're not already familiar with The Poppy War, it's a grimdark inspired by mid-20th century Chinese politics, and any fight scene in this book feels so important. I feel it feels like really like crucial to the plot, and that's just a testament to the author's writing. I feel like she does such a good job at describing action, like all the jabs, all the punches, all the fucking like fight scenes. They're very cinematic and they're really well paced. It flows like a song, and I feel like a lot of times in these kind of high fantasy, super like thick books, the action scenes are draggy and they drag down the entire pace of the book, and it just makes you not want to read it anymore. But in this one specific, I think it does the opposite. It enhances it to a really fun and I guess page-turning degree. Number 4, Caro, a book with a confident or carefree main character. And I chose to focus on the kind of the confident part of this question or prompt more so than the carefree one, because I chose an anthology book. I chose She Walks in Shadows, edited by Silvia Moreno Garcia and Paula R. Steins, and this is a Lovecraftian horror anthology written solely by female authors, written from female perspective. They own who they are. So I'm just going to read the back part of this. But defiant, destructive, terrifying, and harrowing, the women she walks in shadows are monsters and mothers, heroes and devourers. Observe them in all their glory. And I love monstrous, confident women that don't back away from their choices, because I don't think we see them enough in literature. I'm a really big fan of the feminine grotesque. And you see that a lot in film, but I don't think you see it that much in books. So this one. Number 5. Tenemos que hablar, an epistolary or mixed media novel. And she used Dear Haiti, Love Elaine as an example. And that's what I would have used. So I had to Google, because I couldn't think of any other books that had mixed media in it or epistolary that I'd read. And I guess Dracula was an option. I like Dracula. Princess Diaries, I also like Princess Diaries. It was really fun for me to read that book in high school, because the character of Mia felt very like current, even though that book had been written in the 90s, which I thought was really cool. But I'm actually gonna join questions 5 and 6 and say Dear Haiti, Love Elaine as well, because question number 6 is a book with an economically privileged main character, and the song title is Otra Noche in Miami. But I would use Dear Haiti, Love Elaine, because Elaine's character, she is a high school girl who lives a very like privileged life, I guess you can say, because her mother has had like a very successful and lucrative career in TV and broadcast journalism, and then her family in Haiti are also well off. So it's interesting to see how she kind of interacts with that dynamic, because she also encounters people that aren't as fortunate when she goes to Haiti. And then again, the emails, the messaging, the kind of like Slack messaging, the letters that she interacts with in the book are really interesting to read, because not only does it reflect like modern times, but like the letter portions of the book are through her mother's eyes. So it's interesting to see how her mother communicated when she was young versus Elaine now that she's like a young woman herself. So like that comparison I thought was super interesting, which is why I would choose that book for both of the prompts. Number 7, Ser Bichote, a book with a character going against their parents' wishes. I'm going with Love Boat Type A. In this book, the main character wants to be a dancer. She loves to dance, it's her passion, and it's the thing that she cares about the most. But her parents really want her to go to medical school and become a doctor, and it's a source of a lot of conflict and pain between the two. They don't get along, and they like stop talking, and they just have these horrible arguments over like this, over her parents wanting her to become something else than what she feels that she needs to be. Number 8, Si Estuviéramos Juntos, a book with an unrequited love trope. So I'm choosing to go a little out of the box for this prompt, and I'm going with the screenplay Moonlight by Barry Jenkins, which is based on the unpublished semi-autobiographical play by Terrell Alvin McCraney called Moonlight Black Boys Look Blue. And if you haven't seen Moonlight, like, watch Moonlight, people. Watch Moonlight. It's about Chiron, who is this boy from Miami, and it follows him as he's a kid to when he's a teen to when he's like an adult. And it's about kind of his self-hatred and self-acceptance, and it deals with like sexuality and identity, masculinity, and what it means. Chiron meets Kevin when they are boys, and they have like this very epic love story that Chiron is very hesitant to participate in, if that makes sense. He kind of doesn't want to take that step forward into just being with this person because he feels that it makes him wrong and different, and it's kind of the process of this longing and this yearning for somebody, and it ends in a very fulfilling place at the end. And if you haven't checked out the screenplay to Moonlight, definitely do. It's really beautiful, and it deserves every single award, every single Oscar season. Solo de Mi, a book revolving around bodily autonomy. So I'm going with a book that isn't out yet, but I received an arc of it that I recently finished, and that is Lobisona by Romina Garber. I don't want to say too much about this book because it's not out there yet, but what I like about this book is that it starts with a girl having her period, which I think isn't necessarily seen that often in like literature as a whole, and when we do see it, it's kind of written from like a male perspective, so it's kind of weird. And the example that come up in my mind is Game of Thrones. The last book kind of ends with Dany like either having a miscarriage or going through her period, but it's written really weirdly as compared to Lobisona, which is written from a female perspective, or written from somebody that experiences periods as well. And I liked how it goes through, like, it talks about like the cramps and like the stickiness of the thighs and all that kind of stuff. And Lobisona deals with werewolves, so it's like there's like a literal body transformation happening as well throughout the book. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about this one, but check it out when it does come out. It's really good. Number 10, Cuando Veríamos, a book where the main character is a dancer, and I'm cheating on this one and I'm using La Vote Taipei again because again, the dance is so crucial to the main character in this book, and there's a lot of like really important transformative moments in the character's arc that are told through dance. Like, she learns to be more like carefree and live her true self through these really like big dance scenes, whether they be in a club or whether it be in whether it be in a fucking stage, that's the word. Whether it be on a stage, like, they're so important to your character, and that's why. Number 11, La Romana, a book with either fire imagery on the cover and or the word fire, and she uses With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo, which is what I would have used too, Adriana. I would have used it too. But there's so many. There's like We Set the Dark on Fire's one, but I always talk about that book, so I'm not gonna bring it up. There's Drive by Neil Schusterman, which has like flames on the cover, which deals with the drought in California. But the book, or the story I should say, that comes to mind when I think of fire is a fairy tale actually that literally destroyed me when I first read it, and that's The Little Matchstick Girl by Hans Christian Andersen, because I remember the version I read had like the little girl on the cover and she's holding a little matchstick and it's on fire and it's kind of illuminating her face, and there's like snow, and you think it's gonna end in happiness, but it ends in pain. And if you're not familiar with this story, like, it's available anywhere, you could probably Google it right now, but it's about this poor little girl on a cold night who has a like handful of matchsticks and she's freezing, and she lights a matchstick, and as each one's lit up, a different wish of what her life could be like is told. And then it ends with her running out of matchsticks, and then she just dies because it's cold. And then the next day, the people see her dead body on the street and they're like, damn, that sucks. And I'm telling you, if you read this book as like a 7-year-old, it messes with your mind, man. Number 12, Como Antes, a book with multiple timelines. I'm gonna say 2 examples for this. The first one is Station 11, because I love post-apocalyptic books. I love books that are about pandemics as well. But in Station 11, there is this giant flu called the Georgia flu that kills 99.6% of humanity. And so the rest are kind of living in this really, they kind of have to like restart society in a way. It kind of regresses into like, it feels like the 1800s or something with elements of modernness, if that makes sense. But it's told in 2 perspectives. We start with this actor who's on stage who like dies, and then we flash forward to humanity trying to reconstruct itself after this giant illness. These 2 stories run parallel to each other, and you're always kind of wondering how they're going to actually interact and affect each other within the narrative. And when they finally do, it's so satisfying to read, and it's kind of like it's an aha moment for the reader. And yeah, I really like this book, but maybe you don't want to read it right now with all the coronavirus things, so maybe save it for a different time. The other book I wanted to talk about is Pedro Páramo, which is like considered one of the books of magical realism, if not the book. And it's told in multiple timelines, but they're not necessarily linear, if that makes sense. They're more so like interwoven timelines. They're all kind of interacting with one another, and they live within one another to create something completely different. Yes. Number 13, RLNDT, a book with an unreliable narrator. I'm gonna go with Darius the Great is Not Okay. So this is a book about a boy who's struggling with his sexuality, and he is also dealing with mental illness. He has depression, and his father has depression as well, so it kind of touches on the themes of kind of like the cyclical nature of mental illness within a family if it's left untreated. And I chose this book because we see things from the perspective of Darius, and I feel that a lot of times, because he is going through this really horrible bout of depression, we don't exactly see the objective reality of the scenes that he's going of the scenes. We see them through his eyes, through his reality, and it kind of helps the reader understand his own mind better, but I don't think it's necessarily the truth of the matter. Number 14, Estamos Bien, a book by a Puerto Rican writer. I chose my favorite Adam Silvera book, and that is They Both Die at the End. And yeah, they both die at the end of this book. So this book is about like this parallel reality, if you can say that, where people are given a phone call on the day they're going to die, but they don't know how they're going to die, and they don't know when. They just know that that's the day that they... So it's about the story of these 2 boys who encounter each other on this day that they're supposed to die, and they go on this wild adventure and they fall in love, but it ultimately ends in death. Number 15, Mia, a co-written, co-authored book. I chose This Is How You Lose the Time Warp by Amal Emotar and Max Gladstone. This is a really short book. It's like this big, but it's packed with so much emotion and angst and love and tragedy and time travel things. So this is a romance told through letters about 2 women who are rival spies, and how they fall in love, and how they don't want to, and how they do, and there's time travel again. Yeah. But yeah, that was the Bad Bunny Por Siempre book tag. Thanks to Ariana again for tagging me in this video. I'm tagging Yvette and Priscilla because I know they're both fans of Bad Bunny, but if you like Bad Bunny too, definitely do this tag. I'd love to see your take and your books that you would choose for each prompt. And I'll probably see y'all soon. I have another video planned that I will hopefully film. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Bye.